Total map banking touchpoints are now 21.3 lakh, which include branches, BCs, ATMs, and India Post payments bank centers.
WhatsApp has released data. I think a very large number of the messages in India as a market are in languages outside of English using audio. We have to figure out how to use the best of technology in our financial systems. This is the problem that we're experimenting with, but it's hard because right now our entire transaction authorization mechanism, when you talk about tech, when you go to cash, you understand any language, you transact with currency, everyone understands.
Respected DG CI, Mr. Chanjit Banerjee, and my colleagues, Mr. Prashant Kumar, CEO and MD, Yes Bank, and Chair of CIA National Committee on Fintech, Mr. Sameer Nigam, founder and CEO of PhonePe, and co-chair, National Committee on Fintech, and my colleague, Mr. Saji KV, CMD NABARD, and dear friends. Let me thank CIA for inviting me to the third CIA National Summit on Financial Inclusion Fintech. In fact, let me congratulate CII for choosing the headline topic always. Both are interlinked, both are timely for the country. And the Fintech is the one which actually will drive the financial inclusion. So there is a lot of convergence between the two objectives, and having a common summit for on that. Now I find Mr. Prashant Kumar and Mr. Chandrajit both have delivered me a set of recommendations, in fact, on the fintech sector. Now I just flipped through a few pages. I found actually a few of them we already implemented. Now, in fact, some of them, of course, the CIA has been engaged with us. They have been talking to us in the last 1 year, as far as I'm concerned. Perhaps they must be doing that with DFS even before I joined. So some of them I find actually are, we have already agreed or under implementation or under serious consideration of the government at various levels. Now, anyway, thank you for the CIA for giving these recommendations so that they are useful to the government while taking some of the decisions. Now, the financial inclusion is being increasingly recognized as one of the key driver of both economic development as well as poverty elevation all over the world. In fact, some of you may be aware, 7 UN SDGs out of the 17 are related to financial inclusion. That actually places the role and significance of financial inclusion in elevating poverty and also bringing unbanked to the financial system. The first thing for financial inclusion, I think all of you are aware, is providing a bank account. You know, in 2014, prior to the launch of Jan Dhan Yojana, the World Bank Findex report estimated that only 35% of adults in India had a bank account. It was in this backdrop that Jan Dhan mission was launched, and in 18 we shifted one account per household, from that motto to one account for each household. Now today we have 55.6 crore PMJDY accounts with a deposit base of 2.6 lakh crore. And mind you, 2/3 of those accounts are in rural and semi-urban areas, and 56% of those accounts are held by women. And as per an estimate in 21, an SSY estimate, almost about 90% of the adults in India have a bank account, which is a remarkable achievement for given the size of the country, challenges we face, and the rural landscape we have. Now, the initiative of providing banking infrastructure, banking touchpoints to cover the unbanked and uncovered villages was undertaken with the PMJDY with an aim to cover every village with at least one banking outlet, branch or BC within 5-kilometer range. Now, as per the last month data, 99.9% villages are now covered either by a bank branch or BC or IPB within 5-kilometer distance. This is again remarkable achievement for our country. Total map banking touch points are now 21.3 lakh, which include branches, BCs, ATMs, and India Post Payments Bank Centers. We are also aware there are 3 Jan Suraksha schemes we have, the Government of India launched. The Pradhan Mantri Suraksha Bima Yojana, Pradhan Mantri Jeevan Jyoti Bima Yojana, and Atal Pension Yojana. The target was to encourage the people in lower ranks of the society to appreciate the importance of insurance and pension coverage, and the government's endeavor is to provide social security. Now, the cumulative enrollment, as for last month, have crossed 51.5 crore, 23.9 crore, and 7.9 crore, respectively, under PM Suraksha Bima Yojana, PM Jeevan Jyoti Bima Yojana, and Atal Pension Yojana. This is the one thing which actually brought large number of people into financial inclusion. And when we talk about actually financial inclusion, without considering this segment of population, it has actually no meaning. And the other thing, which is again one of the, in fact, I consider this is one of the biggest scheme in the world. In the month of April, we have completed 10 years. PM Mudra Yojana, and also the Stand Up India scheme. Since launch in 15, we have provided 53.5 crore loans to 34.6 lakh crores have been sanctioned. Imagine 53 crore loans we have sanctioned to India everywhere, and we have sanctioned 34.6 lakh crore for these loan accounts. Most of them, in fact, 68% of these loans went to women. Imagine the kind of empowerment it has led to the women. Indirectly, just taking loan, repaying, the kind of empowerment took place, the kind of capacity building it has happened, the kind of confidence and then role they are actually playing in the families. We need to have a separate study for that to see how actually women have transformed the rural villages. And coming to the Stand Up India scheme. Now, the Stand Up India scheme, we have actually sanctioned 2.75 lakh loans among to 62,000 crore to entire India. And out of that, 83% of the loans went to women. Again, women have played an important role in accessing financial inclusion. Now, it actually shows the progress the country is achieving in achieving equality between men and women, and also the women empowerment. It's not that we are only doing these schemes. Even in informal sector, the government is very keen that we should provide financial inclusion. The 2 schemes that the government has launched, one is PM Swanidhi, the other is PM Vishwakarma. Both are for informal sector, artisans engaged in the rural and semi-urban areas. There also we are doing very well. In PM Vishwakarma scheme, which was launched by Honorable Prime Minister last year in April, till now, we have sanctioned 4.5 lakh loans and 3.6 lakh crore we have disbursed. Again, huge achievement. Within 1 year, we have actually, there are 3 components into this. One is, of course, loan. The other is the skill development, and then also the implements for artisans. All 3 are given together to the PM Vishwakarma, and most of them are based out of rural and semi-urban areas. Now, all of us are aware that greater financial inclusion naturally leads to higher per capita income, increased personal investments in health, education, and small businesses, and deeper financial markets. Microfinance has the potential to widen financial inclusion by bridging the needs and opportunities, and it can enrich capital markets, broaden economic development, and be a profitable line of business. One thing I would like to mention, actually draw attention to the large number of fintech series, the financial education. I think fintechs have actually here a great opportunity to undertake financial education to large number of people in the country. Actually, one of the reasons why many people fall victim to the frauds or cyber frauds is because of lack of financial education. I think you bring to bear your tools of innovation and easy to operate systems to ensure that the people are not defrauded by the fraudsters. The second thing I think the fintech should actually look at is consumer protection. Ensure that the consumers who are using your ecosystem are not unfairly treated and their complaints are addressed properly and they are protected from the frauds. Consumer protection is very, very important for everyone. Now, in digital payments, India has achieved tremendous progress. The present state-of-the-art payment systems are, in fact, most affordable, accessible, convenient, efficient, and also safe, and available 24/7, and all the days throughout the year. It's a matter of actually great pride and to every Indian in the country that India is far ahead of many, many countries in the digital payment systems. And we have been, in fact, we are trying to expand our digital payment ecosystem to several other countries. I think we have till now, we are having about in 7 countries. We are also in discussion with a few more. I think perhaps this year we'll be expanding our footprints in some other countries also, where citizens there actually make and receive payments through our UPI system. The growth in volume of digital payments have been 3 times in the last 3 years. UPI has transformed digital payment ecosystem by increasing person-to-person as well as person-to-merchant payments. In May 2025, UPI saw 1,868 crore transaction with a value of nearly 25 lakh crores. UPI transactions have grown 4 times in the last 3 years. Government has launched many schemes to promote Digital India Mission, Make in India, etc. These include digital public infrastructure such as Aadhaar, eKYC, AEPS, UPI, Bharat QR, DigiLocker, Account Aggregator, ONDC, CBDC, and now recently ULI. These DPIs can be utilized on shared basis by different players for ensuring optimum outcomes. DPI is the USP of India's inclusive growth and has been instrumental in bringing transparency, scale operation, and timely delivery of financial services to the public. The fintech sector has come up as a focal point in India's growth story, with technology paving the way for revolutionizing payments, lending, wealth technology, personal finance management, insurance technology, regulation technology. It plays an important role in digital financial inclusion by banking the unbankable and serving the underserved or unserved. Fintechs can be a game changer for addressing the gap in financial inclusion by offering digital, fast, transparent, and low-cost volumes solutions that can cater to diverse and unmet needs of unserved and underserved sectors in the country. AI is, of course, now being used everywhere. I think we should use it more. And to enhance user convenience by simplifying the payment process, conversational payments have been enabled in UPI using AI, which can in turn aid in the inclusion of senior citizens, Divyang, and users to new digital payments, and increase the speed and convenience of UPI transactions. The report of India's G20 Task Force on Digital Public Infrastructure highlights that by leveraging DPI, India has leapfrogged financial inclusion and traditional stages of development, achieving ought to have been taken it 5 decades in just under a single decade. Addressing the digital payments, recent Digital Payments Awards 2025, Honorable Finance Minister had also highlighted that India achieved 80% of financial inclusion rate in just 6 years, which in normal course would have taken 50 years. By democratizing access to credit, payments, and other innovative financial products, Fintech sector has empowered small businesses to thrive, fostered entrepreneurship, and integrated millions of previously unbanked citizens into the formal financial system. It has played a pivotal role in advancing financial inclusion and strengthening the financial decision-making capabilities of citizens, particularly from those from low-income groups. I would like to take this opportunity to request the fintechs to focus their attention and efforts on payment solutions for offline payments, voice-based authorization, poor connectivity coverage, as well as cross-border payments. Low-cost but effective cybersecurity and anti-hacking solutions are also required. Innovations in tamper-proofing of financial apps is also an area where I would like the fintechs to focus and innovate. With these words, I thank CII for giving me the opportunity and also for inviting me to be present here. And I also thank all of you for giving me a patient hearing for my remarks. Thank you so much.
The world looks very different while we're in the same fintech sector. When I'm sitting there at events, everyone's talking about the latest tools, LLMs and AI, and trying to find a problem to solve. When I come to Delhi, the problems are laid out in human terms, sectors, priorities, and we're trying to find solutions to match them. I'm a geek, so I like frameworks. So I think it's been a solid 10 years of incredible movement in the fintech sector in India. I think all the inclusion numbers, all the growth numbers are talked about often. But I thought, since it's early in the morning, coffee is settling in, make this a little interactive for about 5 minutes with your permission. And so, if you'll indulge me, I have my own framework of BALs, the AEIOUs. And I think I just want to actually sort of give some sense for the kind of problems I think we need to solve over the next 10 years. So I'll start with just requesting people. I'll ask some very simple questions and I'll request you to raise your hands on a yes and no. So, how many people in the room have a feature phone today? How many people in India still have feature phones? So by the last count I got from the telcos and the government data, it's about 32 to 33 crore. So that's the first problem. From an access standpoint, everyone in my ecosystem, I call it mine because I'm in fintech, I think psychologically is conditioned to be solving for a market where everyone's on smartphones. But that's just not the case. So about a fourth of people we are not actively thinking about. And Shahji sir, I think a lot of them are also in rural India. We need to start thinking about them. Because whether it's UPI growth or any other number that we love chasing, we won't get to 1.4 billion people if we don't solve for 300-400 million people. So that's one number. And we have recently acquired some IP and started building at PhonePe. I'm actually talking to a few young entrepreneurs who are doing some interesting work with feature phones. It's good to see people taking a crack at it. But I think as a sector, we need to figure out what to do with those 30, 35 crore users. So that's the first, which is how do we get access to all these customers? Because if we can't, then if the tech doesn't reach the customer, then we can't do much. The second, how many people here are avid WhatsApp users? Pretty much everyone, yeah? How many people have used their chat or audio feature to interact with somebody? Significant number of hands going up, right? Now imagine doing that when you're at a shop and you're making payments. The other party can tell you. When you're on WhatsApp and you're talking to a local shopkeeper saying, Bhaiya, please send ABCD. They respond back with voice. A lot of the domestic workers, carpenters, plumbers, and others who are not very well versed with English as a primary language use audio. In fact, WhatsApp has released data. I think a very large number of their messages in India as a market are in languages outside of English using audio. We have to figure out how to use the best of technology in our financial systems. This is a problem that we're experimenting with, but it's hard because right now our entire transaction authorization mechanism, when you talk about tech, when you go to cash, you understand any language, you transact with currency, everyone understands. When you get to tech, this two-factor authentication, all of the warnings and alerts and education that we are trying to do for customers is largely in English or in text, which people don't understand. So we have to figure out how to change medium, right? So that's the education problem. There's a lot of interesting work happening there, but we haven't cracked the code on how to actually solve for this universally. The third is the innovation part, where obviously I think the sector is really, really excited, particularly with AI. I'm sure everyone's heard a lot about AI, probably more than you'd like to. But again, how many people here have played around with ChatGPT or Gemini or any of these new sort of new age models? Right? It's pretty fascinating when you can actually ask a machine you can't see a normal language question, a pretty complex question, and it scans the internet for you and gives you incredible answers back. Now think of the fact that companies as large as Google and Microsoft have scanned pretty much every document out there and every website out there. There's agentic bots that can help you find the color of socks that will match the carpet if you asked it by scanning Myntra and Nike and every other website. But there's not a single fintech app yet, including my own, I'm embarrassed to say, that you could say, this is my profile, suggest the right kind of health insurance policy for me. Independent, unbiased, helping the customer. There's not a single fintech app that I've seen thus far, or I'm even hearing discussions around yet, that'll advise an agri-farmer on the kind of loan that they should take, the tenure, and what is a reasonable cost to expect. There's a lot of information asymmetry that I think innovation will drive. This is one where I'm actually very optimistic. I think 5 years from now, the information asymmetry barriers come crashing down with AI, because now the language barrier becomes less relevant. Hopefully agentic bots come in where language kicks in. That was very elusive in the internet era when everything was English-based. But then if there is that much free-flowing information, then you get to the O, which is the oversight, the compliance, which Prashant sir could probably tell us better, but I like to believe we are starting to mature as a fintech sector, slightly, slowly, slightly. We are the disruptors, so naturally speaking, the compliance and the governance and the adult conversations followed. But we are 10, 15 years in, we are starting to understand that all our actions, all our innovations have consequences. So there's a lot many more committees where we're engaging, we're trying to understand what the concerns are with the regulators. And I think that's an ongoing activity. But again, I think events like this one, where there's free conversation about, okay, how do you reduce fraud collectively? How do you improve education collectively? How do you harmonize KYC across products? All of these conversations make us better as an industry. And lastly, I think the U I reserve for universal inclusion. We talk about financial inclusion. We look at PhonePe, and even in my broader ecosystem in Bangalore, when I talk to the entrepreneurs there, we look at inclusion slightly differently. We look at it in terms of cohorts. And the one thing that, again, worries me a bit is we have big, large blind spots. We talked about the feature phone blind spot. Now, when it comes to cash, my parents started making me go to the local shopkeeper to buy the morning bread and butter and stuff very early with little money in my hand, right? You would give money proportionate to age and maturity. In the digital world, how many people here actually, if I may, those with kids, can you please raise your hands? How many of kids have bank accounts? How many people with kids below 18 have bank accounts? Really? Okay. This is actually not representative. Honestly, that I don't believe that, because the number of minors that have bank accounts is way below the Gen Z numbers, way below the Gen Z numbers. And so we are not using, or we are not including young children in their financial education journey equally in the digital world. Ironically, we've regressed. In the cash world, you teach them the value of money, safety, how to protect your money, how to pay for it. That journey is not happening easily right now. There's some interesting startups. I was talking to one of the entrepreneurs yesterday at a company called PhonePe. He himself looks like he's too young to be actually working, but doing some really interesting work for teenagers and beyond. We need a lot more of those. It's a large population. On the other end of the spectrum is the senior citizens who felt very comfortable with cash, but now we're trying to teach them, several of them octogenarians, septuagenarians, nonagenarians. They should be actually comfortable with their equation with money. Now we're trying to teach them new apps. That's another cohort we don't have any specialized apps for. So I think when we talk about inclusion, right now the definition, the unstated definition seems to be the smartphone users between sort of 18 to 20 and 65. And I think we have a very large population sitting outside of that. And I think for fintechs in particular, since we're always looking for new areas, green spaces as we call them, these are very large green spaces, and they'll appreciate if we can build for them. So I think that's my AEIOU. And thank you so much. It's always exciting being here. Thanks.